Please call to order. The Runnymede Board of Education meeting is called to order. The Board of Education is in compliance with Chapter 231 of Public Laws of 1975 entitled the Open Public Meetings Act. The time, date, and location of this meeting was appropriately advertised by notifying the retrospect and carrier post, as well as posting notices in Barrow Hall, Runnymede Post Office, Marygold School, Lime Bingham School, Grace Downing School, and the Runnymede Public District website. Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. Flags over here. I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Roll call, board members.
Tricia Adair. Angel Beebe.
Here.
Charles Buckheim. Here. Naomi Davison.
Here.
Maria Panzarella.
Here.
Tricia Smith.
Here.
Samantha Spalding.
Here.
Lynn Terrell. Amy Farrell. You have a quorum.
Also present, Mark Iannucci, Superintendent of Schools, Earl Masello, Interim Business Administrator, and Sean McCann, Supervisor of Curriculum and Instruction. At this time, there is no correspondence, so we'll open for public comments on agenda items only. Anyone get a chance to look at the agenda, have any questions? No? Okay. Under finance, are we going to start with our presentation?
We're all going to stand.
That's fine.
Thank Sal and Dr. Karen. Input and creation on this. This is something walking you through it is job enough, but I appreciate your help with that. So we're just going to go over a couple things regarding the 2014-2015 budget. Feel free to stop me. Those in the speaker with it as well, or Sean with it as well. So basically, the timeline, the only timeline for the budget, we have met, I want to say, early October of the school year, in order to identify the need for projects for between the principals we met, actually met the principals and child protection supervisor of the departments in October as well, gave a timeline and everything else. They had to submit those budgets, I believe they had to be done third week in December, while they're on break, and we're able to review them in January. Can we get that next slide? In February, Earl and Sean as well, we can construct that budget. The mandates and impact and everything else. We're at this meeting right now, it's one of the processes we have to have board approval, and when we send it to the county office, which is March 20th. And we'll have a public hearing at the April board meeting, I believe it's April 28th, or so.
Yes.
And we basically do a similar presentation to this, more public action, community action. Considerations for the budget development. We tried to pattern, as Sean was talking already, found the slides from previous years. We tried to downsize some of them, and for this presentation tonight, try to get a neat table of intelligence to read those things up there, things that were considered for this budget, goals we have in the school and district, also our anticipated revenues, our enrollment, and obviously upcoming costs and needs we have. You never know what to expect.
One thing to the development of the budget that I will say is having Earl come in was tremendously helpful because as a board, you approved last year's budget for the money to be spent within certain areas. And I think sitting down as an administrative team and actually going through line by line to see what everything was budgeted for, so that way we had a better idea of the budget process. And as an administrator coming from another district, a lot of times you might not have that one-on-one collaboration with the business administrator, and you're just given a number, whereas we were able to sit down and kind of say, okay, well, in this line specifically, this is what this is going towards, and kind of reevaluate where we were as a district and as individual departments and buildings, how that money was going to be spent throughout the rest of the school year.
So some of the things we have utilized that money that was budgeted for this school year. Thanks for all the good things. I'll explain those things and break it down. I was building principal last year. I was always, quite grasping asking some of those things, and wasn't given that information basically. So,
I think basically what it is, that the information wasn't made available to the people who were using the budget. So they had no ownership into it, they really didn't know what they had and didn't have. So that's a key piece of communication that has to go on consistently between the business office and the people out in the field who are actually monitoring their own individual budgets, principals, any of the program directors, and those kind of folks.
some of our district goals are obviously moving forward. Obviously, we're always here for the structure for our kids. All right, so one of the things we have is review and be a revised current curriculum to meet the needs of students. That curriculum is ongoing document. It lives and breathes every day. So, just make some changes as we move forward. Help the PD in the future. Some other things we're looking at. Also, with the park assessment coming up next year, we need to increase the technology in the classrooms and also provide PD to our staff, our students, and the parents. I know Sean done some compliments, with the parents in the community, kind of put that stuff out there, kind of understand what it's going to be. We do a couple of park practice assessments coming up in April.
Also working with our technology coordinator, Jeanette Sherrill, and to make sure that the infrastructure within the district that we're able to all go on at the same time for an assessment without all the computers shutting down. So we're currently in the process of seeing where we currently are. We do have updates coming in the next school year to kind of build the structure that we currently have. At the lower elementary schools, they've been doing a great job with Daily 5, which is part of their language arts program, and where the kids are actually doing these watching these interactive videos, talking about different topics. To the point where Jeanette was like, from 10 o'clock to 11:30 every day, the system's shaking up. She's like, they need to slow down with the videos, and we're like, we can't have them slow down, we just got them started. We're like, so the fact that they're utilizing the technology, and are we utilizing it 110%? Not always, but that's why we have the continued professional development and why we're sharing those best practices that are taking place in the classrooms currently to make sure that that's continuing to build, so that we're moving in a forward direction.
So we should be good with that. Hopefully give some feedback at that April meeting regarding how we're doing the park practice assessment. I know we have 2 versions we're going to roll out there. One like a brief 20-minute clip we're going to test it out to see some of some other districts. Some of the things they're saying are just simple like IT concerns. If you take the test for computer fees, that's what we do. How do you troubleshoot that? I mean, we all know the turn power, we're all turn back on. What's that look like to do that? You can't.
Within the next week to week and a half, letters will be going home to certain 4th and 7th grade students, parents, to let them know that they will be a part of the pilot group. What's so important that they realize is that the information we get from these students, we're not using to attach to them. What we're taking from the information is we're preparing our school for the park assessment and the fact that we're able to administer it. We're preparing our students for what they can expect and hopefully ease their concerns on taking a completely online assessment. My hope is the fact that we already have the MAP assessment in place. Taking another online assessment isn't going to be that much of a difference for them. And also, so that way as a district, we know exactly what to expect when this comes to us next year. One thing I've also been working closely in my position as curriculum supervisor with Lori Hines in terms of the modifications for our special education students. So that way parents are aware that this is what's taking place. But as far as the pilot program that we're doing this year, if anyone comes to you about that, it's not necessarily judging the students and their abilities. It's validating the questions across the nation as far as the 14 states who are implementing PARC, saying, are these good questions that we're using? Do we need to make modifications before our first implementation? And from there, that way we're good for next year for the 14-15 school year.
It's almost like a dress rehearsal. Ready, get the kids taken care of. One thing, come up collaborating with the districts and everyone has to do. So we should do something similar. They realize that the biggest concern is not having the tech support there with your students and teachers. Being professional development, I'll focus on some of our resources on that as well. In-house, so to speak. Then obviously, utilize that teacher evaluation to provide feedback. City enrollment school choice, we have about 840 students in districts continue for this 13-14 school year. We're at 10, I think, applicant placements right now. Our number of school choice students is going to bump up by 2 for the 14-15 school year. We'd love to have more. School state intervened a little bit more.
The state placed a cap, so as a district, we're allowed to have a total of 9 school choice students. One thing you're going to notice when you look at the numbers that you've been given this evening, is that there was a decrease in school choice aid from last year. And the reason why there was a decrease was because when you do the budget, we currently have 8 students who are slotted as school choice students for next year. I have 3 students who are possibly moving out of the district, and parents have already showed interest in having their student remain in Runnymede as a school choice student. The state will give a little bit of leeway if it's your own student that you're keeping within the district. But what I wanted to say was, when you look at the budget and you see that decrease in school choice aid, that's because 2 of the students did not end up coming, I'm sorry, 1 student did not end up coming last year who had originally signed up to be a school choice student. So at that point, since they come, and a lot of times when people sign up for school choice, they're applying to multiple districts and not just one district. So they might have accepted a response here and then got in. It's kind of like when you go to college, where you might have accepted an offer to one school, but then you were waitlisted at another, and they got in somewhere else, or they just opted to stay in the district where they were.
I'll let Earl, you want to share some of your expertise?
Sure. As you all are aware, we have to stay at or below 2% cap on the tax levy, which we did. Your tax levy went up $132,600. Last year, you went up $128,000, so it's pretty much the same ballpark. With that 2% tax levy, there would be no need for a public vote because you don't have to have a second question. As I said, your taxes went up by $132,600. The total revenues appear to be higher for this year than for next year by $55,000. The reason for that is, under the federal regulations, you have to budget 80% of this year's allocation for next year's revenue in all your federal grants. And they call that save harmless money, which means that the government, in order to safeguard and save harmless the districts, the government just can't come in and wipe out the program. They have to fund you at 80% of the year before. So it takes 5 years if they really want to blow a program out. These programs that you have are going to be here probably forever, because you have just the basics, IDEA, which is your special ed funding, and your NCLB, which is your Title I, Title II monies. So by budgeting only 80% of those, it makes your revenues look smaller. You'll probably get somewhere close to what you got this year, so those revenues will jump up, but you won't know that until probably sometime in June, I guess. The local anticipated tax, I spoke with the tax assessment, with the CFO of the borough. I calculated out that your tax rate's going to be probably about 1.335 per $100 of assessed valuation. That would translate to a $41 tax increase for every $100,000 that your house is assessed at. The average home in Runnymede is $147,086, which would translate to about a $60 tax increase for the average home in the borough.
Question on that?
What's that one number? It says so about $1,963.60 is what amount goes towards the school out of people's whole tax bill? Is that what that number is?
Yes,
Okay.
that's for the elementary schools only. You get a separate tax for the
Right.
original school.
Yeah.
And then, yeah, that's on an average home.
On average, yeah.
Yep, no other questions. So obviously, what is this budget? We talked about it, and we really have to, we made any major overhauls of our program. We need to increase the technology in PD, we need to get ready for this market system. We're going to start that in March, in March and early April. Some initiatives we want to do. We need to, it's comfortable, we need technology, we need something new. The younger kids, using that now, some back to research, everything else that I'm comfortable with. We're going to basically start slow, get their hands this year, getting exposed to it when they look playing more technology class or something like that, but then using it on a daily basis. Stay comfortable. Kids are great using the phone, you can probably text it
them this year, and then that next half of them in the summer.
The goal,
And the reason why you're gonna wait till summer is because July 1 is a new budget, correct?
Right.
and what's nice about purchasing half of them now is the fact that we should be having about 50 of them coming in the next couple of days. Those 50 will be automatically distributed to staff members, so that way I can immediately start professional development with staff. And here's what I'll tell you, in our last professional development, we gave them a menu of choices as far as where they wanted to go for professional development. We gave them different options. And they had different tasks they could do at each option, and different cycles they could go through. I had a number of people in the computer lab with me, and what excites me about it is the fact that I'm really starting to see buy-in from many staff members, using the Google Drive and using the cloud format and using the Google Docs and the spreadsheets and the form. And the conversation is really starting to happen as far as, well, what can we do with our students? Or if I type up this, how am I then going to share it? So the dialogue is now taking place. And what I plan on doing for professional development is short, quick sessions where we have a 2:15 to 2:40 block of time at the end of each day, where it's the non-student contact time when students are dismissed. So chances are during that time period, I'll be doing 20-minute PD sessions, where, and this is how I set up the PD, was guys are going to talk for about 5 to 10 minutes. After that, everyone can kind of explore and do what they want to do. And for me, that's kind of the most bang for your buck, because you're doing these short little spurts where you can focus your attention on one specific thing. So everyone's just extremely excited about that. And then once we get the other half, we're going to distribute them to classrooms, not to individual students. So that way teachers, for hopefully 1 to 2 months, will actually be able to incorporate the Chromebooks within small groups within their classrooms and start implementing them and, taking risks, playing around with it, seeing what works, what doesn't work. So that when comes September, it's not, okay, here's the devices, everyone go. And then over the summer, we'll have the time to make sure everyone's set up with their usernames and passwords and everything's identified for, and that way we can start off fresh in September and on the right track.
We've also put in some stuff in the summer, some PD for state company as well. Great. It's a little more extended. Has some point people each grade level that are comfortable with, so there are few to go to that. Somebody's not able to talk about that. We also obviously increased the first position, it was kind of a few years back, which we as a board talked about, getting those positions back, not only for to help the kids with whatever sport they're doing or project they're doing. It's difficult when you have a team of 30 kids and fill out your soccer field, you have one coach. It's also a security thing, it's a safety thing too. Sometimes the game, the playoffs a couple weeks back, or there's a kid hurt, not much for school. Some coach had to deal with it, there's something there, and then we can take the university. So that's something we also have to do. That's better for the kid. We have more coaches, we increase number of students we have participating. That should be good. And obviously to maintain the programming that we have in place.
Just if there are any questions, we'd like to try and answer them.
Okay. I have one under district goals. The last one, utilizing the teacher evaluation system that provides teachers with feedback and the ability for reflection. Having sat on that committee when we were going through the process of bringing this in, here's my question. I wrote it down, so it's for you. Do you feel that the new evaluations or the process provides you and the teachers with better assessment data so instruction and student success improves? I know it's the first year, but what do you think of this new
The funny thing
evaluation?
is, our VA committee was supposed to meet today at 10 o'clock this morning. Excusing you from that committee, because you served last year, you got other things you have going on. So I was asking some new board members, you know, to expose them to. I think it has helped us, as I know as administrator, I'm looking for a lot more than I had in the past. It was still just like a checklist. Also, when I'm giving, I don't know how you feel, when I'm giving the feedback, I'm doing a little more research myself to see how to improve those teachers. Expose them to different things that I hadn't done so much in the past. The teachers, they seem to not be so intimidated by it anymore. Some teachers want to improve, like let's say they got a 3.3, which is a good score. They want that 4.0 is obviously the character everybody's getting. We haven't given 3.8 is the highest we've given anybody this year. But they want to improve. They want to see, well, why didn't I get a 4 in this area? Some of the things is very difficult. I mean, you could be a fan, and we have some fantastic teachers here. It's just not something right now that they can get just full weeks. But I've seen things, some of the teachers we've given feedback, next time we go see them, they've done it. And they've improved, and it's been a great progression, because now we get to see and the teachers 3 times, instead of just that one time we saw them.
But you're also doing walkthroughs,
Yes.
correct,
Doing-
besides the evaluations?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I really believe, having had that experience, that really gives you a lot of good feedback, just in 5-10 minute segments, and see how they start a class, how they work in the middle of that class, or how they bring instruction to a
And it's
close.
good too, because when you're doing a walkthrough, you said it's a 3, 5, 10 minute walkthrough. There's certain things you might not see, you know, you might walk in 20 minutes into the lesson, so you're not gonna see their set, or you're not gonna see their closure at the end. You're seeing different pieces of that. But it also gives you an idea of what the teacher's doing with that interaction, so you're not walking in cold in November when you walk, you kind of have an idea of what that person's doing. So all the administrators have done, you know, you take 30, 45 minutes out of your day, a couple times a week, you hit grade level, and you get this done. They're only 5 minutes, they're quick. You have your iPad in the little room, you email right to the teacher so you can see what they're doing.
I think one of the biggest benefits of is the fact that we have 6 administrators currently who are doing the observation.
Yes.
And one of the biggest benefits is the fact that you've created a common language. We all come with different skill sets and different teaching backgrounds, different districts that we're working in. And I think the fact that we're all using that common language across the board, because teachers are having multiple observers. Now myself, having been a former union representative and having to, sit in with teachers who were upset with observations, one of the things I think I most benefit from is the critical attributes. And that points out, it's like a rubric, points out what you need for every student to hit a 4, what you need to hit a 3. And for me, as long as I'm going through those critical attributes, and I'm saying, okay, well, within this 20, 40-minute snapshot, this is what I'm seeing. And as a supervisor, my goal is to make sure that if I give you a 3, I can tell you how to get to a 4. If you hit a 4, I can tell you why you got that 4 and the points that you hit in order to achieve that. Like Mark was saying, getting a 4 is extremely difficult, and for many people, it takes them out of a comfort. And as educators, we're continually scoring students and grading students, and sometimes I think the most important thing is to be self-reflective of our own practices and what we can do better. If I screw up, I'm going to tell you I screwed up, I'm going to tell you what I'm going to do differently the next time it happens, so that way it doesn't happen again. And I think that's been one of the huge benefits. Coming to Runnymede, I was a huge advocate for TeachGate, because I've used the program previously, and I thought it was a fantastic program. Sadly, since they've come up with their new model, I always think that new means better. In this case this year, and speaking to other districts, people have not been as happy with the new model that's been given. One thing that we will be discussing with the DIAC committee is staying with the Danielson framework, which is the language that we've all gotten accustomed to, the scoring, all of that, but looking at how we're storing that information, which currently is through the one model. We might be switching the model that we use to store the information to try to streamline things a little bit better for next year.
Through my last point is in the evaluation process. I think one of the areas that I tried to work with teachers on, because I thought it was critical, was making sure that they use the right tools at the end of the period to really understand exactly what the kids understand, so that when they come back the next day, they know where to begin, rather than assuming they understand it, and as the weeks unfold, you lose kids and they fall behind. So, I hope you're taking a close look at that as
That's one
well.
of the things a lot of our teachers are using now, is the teachers have to do things, exit slips, they're using post-it notes, they're using things where, so those kids that use.
A ticket to leave, all kinds of
Can't
techniques.
leave the classroom, they're not going to hold them there against the will, but they can't leave until they have something here, so teachers can look at it and say, you know what, that didn't do correct again, I subtract fractions or something like that, so, there's a lot more of that stuff is happening, because that's one of the things you're looking for in the TeachGate model, in the Danielson model, is that feedback to students, and that
Absolutely.
assessment, that ongoing assessment, discussion assessment.
And so often, those assessments, whether it be the walkthroughs or our formal sit-downs, that are then driving our grade level meetings across the board. So it's those conversations that, myself or Lori might be having with Steve and Jade and say, okay, well, for the next professional development session, what are we gonna focus on? Jay just did a huge professional development workshop on writing, and having teachers actually look at student writing pieces at every grade level and discussing what are the expectations at the end of each grade. And just the feedback that we got from teachers from stating, well, Chaz, you're a second grade teacher, what's your expectation? And then Sam tells us what her expectation is, and it's totally two, might be two separate things, or it might be right on. It's, bringing all that stuff to light, and those are the things that we're able to see and then address as we see those needs throughout.
If I may speak for Mr. Keeley too, I interviewed him on Friday for one of my grad school classes, and he had, like, one of his comments was just like that. It's in black and white, so it's with, everyone was so afraid of these evaluation systems, but now it's there, and it's in black and white, and it's helping them to want to do better. Because like they said, not everybody's getting a 4, and
Oh,
we're
yeah.
all perfectionists, we all want 4.
Even the ones of us, if we got a 4, the next time we get a 2.5.
Or we better get a, now if we get a 4, we want to continue to get a 4, we want to always get a 4, so we always have to keep our game up at the tip of the top. So he said that it's been a huge asset as an administrator. Good, so.
And I have full confidence in you and your administrative team. But I think what's so critical about observations, and I think you guys understand that as well, is that it has a two-pronged feedback. It helps you develop professional development where your staff needs help, and it helps you identify someone that shouldn't be tenured, that we should say goodbye, because they're not really helping young people grow and learn. Thank you.
Any other questions or comments? No? All right, we're going to get moving on the agenda then. At this time, I need a motion to approve under finance, number 1, the 2014-2015 proposed school budget. Make a motion to approve.
I'll second that motion.
Motion made by Patty Smith, seconded by Chaz. Any questions? Roll call.
Angel Beebe,
Yes.
Charles Buckheim,
Yes.
Naomi Davidson,
Yes.
Maria Panzarella,
Yes.
Patricia Smith,
Yes.
Samantha Spalding,
Yes.
motion carries.
Under personnel, I need a motion to approve item number 1.
I'll make a motion to approve item number 1. Second?
Motion made by Angel, seconded by Naomi. Mr. Iannucci has.
This, way we were going to approve this evening, replacing, we had a instructional leader resign last month. Had that resignation, so this is just the approval of that. She's the young lady who actually did a long-term sub for us in 4th grade this year. 4th grade teacher who was out, started the year. She transitioned over to pre-K 4 at Bingham, where she's done a wonderful job. Just this opportunity came up for her to be in the classroom. She lives in this district, she wants to stay here. Quickly for her to get her foot in the door, so to speak, so that's why she's.
Any questions? Roll call.
Angel Beebe,
Yes.
Charles Buckheim,
Yes.
Naomi Davidson,
Yes.
Maria Panzarella,
Yes.
Patricia Smith,
Yes.
Samantha Spalding,
Yes.
motion carries.
At this time, we're open for public comments on non-agenda items. Does anybody have any public comment? All right, if there's no public comment, then we have our regularly scheduled board meeting next Monday. Work session will begin at 6 o'clock, 7 o'clock regular meeting.
There's some student groups coming there too as well.
Okay.
It's the elementary school as well as the student council students here at Lowell. And we also, April meeting.
April meeting with the architect.
Yes. architect will be coming to
Robert
discuss. Rouse will be here to discuss some of the projects that we have moving forward, and the timeline, things like that. Since he can articulate that better than myself, and maybe Earl and Sean. Gonna come to the work session.
Okay, that's my question. Students are coming during the regularly scheduled meeting, 7 o'clock or 6 o'clock at the work session?
Double check, I believe, it's 100%.
7 o'clock, but Garrison, the next month, is going to come during our work session at 6 o'clock. Okay. Any other questions from anybody?
Just a comment, if I may. The committee on the handbook, if you would just, when you get a chance to just update a couple of adjustments in that, that's what I put in front of you. Any feedback you want to give Mark or me or Pat, who's on the committee, or Lynn, we're about ready to put together and have it ready. And this will be an ever-evolving handbook, changes being made where it's necessary on an annual basis. But then it'll be digital. We're not going to use any trees, no paper, it'll be digital.
Thank you for spearheading.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
Walk over there, thank you. All right, if there's no other, nothing else, I need a motion to adjourn.
I make a motion.
Motion made by Maria, second by Patty Smith. All in favor?